going to be talking about PowerPoint.
So just this week, I decided I would go and dwell into the experience of Office suites. And now I've actually been testing this for a long time. Everyone I know, I see this all the time. People are like, do I have to pay for a Microsoft Office license to do like basic activities?
PowerPoint. And we are in. We are going to register. You hit register.
Just buy a Mac and use Apple Pages.
See, but the problem with that is that's not a solution either, because not everyone has is rich and has Apple computers and can afford to buy one every 6 years.
Well, that seems like a you problem.
Don't make me release the iNotch, because I will. And I'll put a notch on that too.
Never mind the fact that the iWork suite has some of the worst Word document, PowerPoint, Excel support I have seen in my life. Like whenever
it doesn't work well with it. Assuming you are using it to communicate with Windows users using Word, it does not play nicely with Word.
It is criminal.
You can translate files to Pages remarkably well, but you can't translate them from Pages particularly well.
And that's why I want to bring up these two programs. And I'm bringing up these two programs just because I feel like both of them are incomplete. But when you bring both of them together, they basically put Microsoft Word to shame. First one, OnlyOffice. OnlyOffice.com. You go here, click the button, download it. It's available in Flatpak if you're on Linux and on every Homebrew and Chocolatey. You can download it no matter what kind of computer you have. And this is the real kicker, which got my attention. There are phone apps too. And I will be getting into those very shortly.
I don't know about you, but I write all of my essays using my two thumbs.
Yeah, but what if you need to open something, someone emails you, right? And I think that's one of the big selling points of having a mobile Office suite application, right? And both OnlyOffice, so the OnlyOffice is number one, and this is probably the one that I would push more. I'm starting to push more people towards. And then we also have LibreOffice. That you can get it the same methods. You download a file here, or you just use the Flatpak or the homebrew version, or the Windows Chocolatey version, and they're all basically the same, really. There's not really many differences outside of these versions, and they are pretty much identical no matter which operating system you use them on. So it doesn't matter what you're using, they'll work, and that's a big one for me, right? I think a lot of people forget that like Pages or whatever, you're imprisoned on an Apple device, or if you're using like the Microsoft suite. Like, the Microsoft Office on, like, Apple devices is treated like a second-class citizen. And yes, I have both of them installed. And I'll tell you why I have both of them installed right now. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to open OnlyOffice first. And I'll sort of dive into what this actually means. The key thing that I see here is this, right? I believe that OnlyOffice is best for people transitioning from the Microsoft Office suite to using their own open source offline Office suite application, right? Because when you go into here, you open OnlyOffice and their document editor. Look at this; it looks exactly like the Microsoft Word experience, right? And you can get pretty much everything that you could possibly expect. And you look, they even have the little font preview thing that everyone likes so much. They have the little heading thing on the tab bar that, despite the fact that everyone emphasizes no one I work with actually uses. They have your basically every single menu that you see right here is pretty much in the same place from like what someone would expect when they're using the Microsoft version, right? And I think OnlyOffice is where I would push more people to actually, like, if you're transitioning from Microsoft Word, this is my first stop, because the UI is the real kicker, right? Because this is just their word processor, right? You go into their PowerPoint thing, whatever, I don't know what they call it. I don't know what they actually call these things. I probably should, but I don't. And OnlyOffice's presentation editor, right? This is very similar to the layout that you get, from like using something like Microsoft Office, right? And you go into the spreadsheet, and then I mean, and you're like here and it's like, wow, this looks exactly like Excel. Like pretty much to the T, with like the same formula, function thing and everything, where you can select the thing you want and you can put in, I don't know, like some of a thing, and you know, it's what people would come to expect, right? And I think the one thing too, out of all of the open source suites, and maybe some of Apple, and compared to Apple and Google Docs, I believe that OnlyOffice has the best, bar none, of non-Microsoft programs, Word document, PowerPoint, and Excel spreadsheet support, despite the fact that those are proprietary formats. It's really incredible that they have like special changes just to match Microsoft's formats properly, because that does matter for some people, you know, like if you get sent documents, you want them to look like the, you know, the way that you'd expect, right? So like if you want like first class like Word document support, like that's on par with like Microsoft Office, I think OnlyOffice will get you there. But I mentioned there's a caveat at the beginning, right? And I think that's where I want to get to next. You said, well, this is great and all, but what's the caveat of all this? And this is a caveat that I think would affect certain workflows. I'm not saying it's going to affect every workflow, but I'm going to say it's going to affect certain workflows, right? And this is where I would push people to use LibreOffice if this comes up. For most people, this will never come up, but for some people, I know this will come up, right? The one thing that OnlyOffice will not do for you, right, is it doesn't have a lot of the fine-grained features, and it's not as mature as a program, right? OnlyOffice is relatively new in the grand scheme of things. It's only like a couple of years old, right? And then now if I open LibreOffice, right, LibreOffice is actually a lot more mature as a program because it's existed since like, you know, the OnlyOffice days. But LibreOffice is more mature of a program, and more of the features out of the box are accessible to more people, right? So like if you want to actually do, like, for example, you can do in OnlyOffice, right? There's no real way to, like, yeah, they have this menu here where you can do like line spacing, right? But this isn't as detailed, right, as opposed to LibreOffice, right? Where LibreOffice, if you go into like their styles here, and you manage their styles editor, you can do much more in bulk in LibreOffice by virtue of the fact that LibreOffice is a much more mature program. Because this is a new generational thing that I think a lot of, you know, veteran tech users forget, is that a lot of newer people are coming from things like Apple's iWork suite because Apple computers are becoming more popular, or things, especially because it's really popular in the educational spaces among young people and the Zoomers, Google Docs, right? The interface of LibreOffice is much more friendly to people coming from the I don't know if I describe the new age office suites. Is that even the right word? New age office suites, but
modern office suites.
Yeah, sure.
Web-based office suites.
Yeah, and I think the like, and in terms of like, especially for the power user, right? OnlyOffice doesn't let you customize much. Doesn't let you customize literally anything with the user interface, right? Where it is kind of where it's just stuck, right? But LibreOffice, you actually have the ability to build yourself custom toolbars. I don't know how to do it. I mean, again, I'm not going to dive into every feature of it. It's just a massive rabbit hole. But you can add custom toolbars to your own thing just because you feel like it, because LibreOffice is just that mature. That's just what it is, right? If you want, basically, let me put it this way, right? For most people, I would push people to use OnlyOffice because I'm willing to bet most people just want to get their basic, like, Microsoft, PowerPoint, Excel support that most people expect, right? And even if you're using like Mac and Windows, like, I would still push you to use this instead because it's just an overall better experience. I mean, like, especially when, like, one, Microsoft requires you to pay to use Microsoft Office, and technically, yeah, you are paying for Apple Suite, but Apple Suite is trash and no one likes it.
So does OnlyOffice handle PDFs?
Believe it or not, I don't actually know. Let's find out, shall we? So I'm going to open a GUI editor, and I'm going to crack open a document we used last time, the Apple Security White Paper. And then I'm going to give it an open. It probably won't work. For example, and
I'm trying to find I'm trying to find the PDF that we were messing around with in LibreOffice before that had Japanese text in it.
Here we go.
Because
look at this. Right? Look at this. The Apple thing, but
is that the same formatting?
It is the same formatting. Look at that. Isn't that nice, right? So as you can see, great PDF support. We actually found this out just now. This is a great off-script moment. All right, so if you open now, let's try to replicate this, right? Oh, whoops. So let's try to replicate this, right? So you have so let's say I'm going to go to the same PDF, right? It's the Apple Platform Security PDF, right? And you'll notice here that it's going to take a little bit to open, right? But you'll notice, kind of right off the bat, I think one of the things that I think separates LibreOffice from... This is taking off a long time. One of the things that features of LibreOffice that I think is a real selling point too that separates it from OnlyOffice is LibreOffice Draw. I am shocked that no one ever talks about this, but this program has saved my butt numerous times. This is LibreOffice Draw. The intention of LibreOffice Draw is it's supposed to be like a spreadsheet, like a PDF creation tool, right? Oh, here you go. Well, here's the Apple Platform Guide. So as you can see here, the intention of LibreOffice Draw is to be a PDF creation tool, right? Something akin to like, I don't know, like Adobe Acrobat, I guess, right? But Adobe Acrobat is just riddled with problems, and I would just prefer to avoid it altogether. And because Adobe Acrobat requires money, they want you to cough up money because Adobe wants your money. So one of the things that I think separates LibreOffice from OnlyOffice is LibreOffice Draw in particular lets you use a PDF editor, and it's a very full-featured PDF editor. As you can see here, the font here is not perfect, but that's because I actually don't have the fonts, like I don't have SF Pro installed, right? I would have to actually rip it from the PDF to actually like get support for it. So, I mean, obviously LibreOffice is not perfect, but one of the major benefits of LibreOffice is you get a full-featured PDF editor. Compare this to OnlyOffice, right? I can't actually edit any of this text, right? They only just let me view it, right? And one of the features that LibreOffice provides is you can actually just go in here and delete entire lines of text. Heck, if you really felt like doing it, you could draw like shapes or whatever too, just because you felt like it. Because everyone needs a smile in their life. This is one feature that LibreOffice has that OnlyOffice doesn't, right? And I think this is a trap that a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people fall into, and I don't blame them falling into it. It's a really easy thing for people to get trapped into, and even I was trapped into this when I first started using Linux 8 years ago. You know, one of the things that I think tricks people a bit is people say, I want the one program replacement to do all of my things. And in a perfect world, yes, we would like a one program thing to replace all of our needs, right? But unfortunately, we're not there yet, right? And realistically speaking, when you really drill down to it, right? And I'm just saying this because I'm a power user. If you're like a normie, you only like open stuff people send you, like then you should use OnlyOffice, because I think you'll be fine. Everyone builds stuff around Microsoft's format anyway. You'll survive. I will warn you though, if people in your life do actually use LibreOffice, ODT documents and like ODP documents never turn out correct if you use the LibreOffice formats to OnlyOffices. I still don't know why they're backwards compatible.
They seem to break a lot of times.
Yeah, but it's just with this. And it's kind of inexcusable for OnlyOffice, because I'm like, aren't you an open source program that could just use, a more open source format? It's a little, I don't get that. It's just a little weird. Maybe there's probably some sort of programmatic reason why they can't do it, but I don't actually know. I mean, these programs are just both behemoths, and they've been around for a long time. But I think that pretty much describes both of these in a nutshell, right? You want like your basic, I mean, like here's another thing that OnlyOffice does that LibreOffice doesn't, right? Like having all of these themes, because anyone who knows LibreOffice Impress is awful. It's terrible, right? You open Impress, right? And look at the themes on here. They look like they were made 10 years ago. Look, it's candy. Wow. Actually, this one doesn't look as bad. This is new. Okay, maybe this theme's a bad example. But my point is, a lot of these themes that you get from LibreOffice, they don't look very good, right? They don't have the same kind of, like, oomph. You know, they don't have the same kind of modernity that you get. Like, I mean, look at this. Look at the dots. Business people love the dots, okay? Like, they love it, okay?
I mean, can't you import a font if you wanted to?
Oh, of course you can. But, like, you just install the font on your computer. But it's like, you know, the real... I think the real thing is like, out of the... I'm talking about the real out-of-the-box experience, because let's be real. Like, unless you're, like, a power user, no one actually creates really creates their own PowerPoints. They just use the stock templates in Microsoft. Yes, I see it all the time. It's exactly what people do. They just use stock templates in their word processor, because I have seen numerous people use the stock templates in Keynote and in PowerPoint, and I'm just like, wow, you should just have a template, right? But again, it's the power user me coming out, right? Not everyone is that way, right? And that's the one thing that they provide. I still believe that in terms of like, I think one of the most lacking one out of all of OnlyOffice is probably their Excel one, right? LibreOffice offers more features for their. Oh, that's my calculator. It's more for Libre. Oh, go away. It's for LibreOffice's LibreOffice Calc, which is like what they use for Excel, is like, I think, just a lot more fully featured, just because it's more mature, right? I mean, you know, again, it just comes down to, there's a program with more maturity, like LibreOffice, but then there's a program that offers a better out-of-the-box experience and proprietary compatibility, right? So it's kind of, you know, pick and choose which one you want, right? So if you like LibreOffice, like, go use LibreOffice. You want to use OnlyOffice because you're a diehard, like, your PowerPoint stuff. It's like, then go use OnlyOffice, right? I see virtually no, like, downsides to either. I mean, there's ups and downs to both of them, but in the end, both of them collectively make an Office suite that is 10 times better than the Microsoft experience, because there's none of the spying, none of the awful things Microsoft can do to you by stealing all of your information and requiring you to have a paid account that you pay for every single year to use software that you bought. Disgusting. I don't want any of that, and this is why I want to push people to use OnlyOffice. And I want to hammer this home even more, because I now have this in front of me, is I actually downloaded the apps for them. Yes, there are apps for them. I'll leave both the Play Store and App Store links below, because one of the unique things about both LibreOffice and OnlyOffice is both of them offer mobile apps. All right, so right here I have the Collabora app, right? This is the Collabora app as it is on my device, right? And as we know, the Apple version is always the crippled version, and this is just a test PowerPoint thing that I tried making. And I'm tapping on the screen right now. You can't see it, but I'm trying to tap on the screen right now, and it's not going. It took me a while to figure this out. You actually have to click this little pen thing at the bottom right, and if you do that, then this pops up. This is the menu that you'd expect to have if you're using LibreOffice. And you know, it's pretty much your basic affair, right? You know, you can type in like a thing, say like, I don't know, what's I can do here? Like, say like, hi, I'm just gonna say, comment down below. Yeah, boom, done. Why should you comment down below? I mean, basically this is about what you'd expect, but as you can see, this is just my experience. Maybe I'm mellowing in age, but like, this experience is awful. It's not very good. I mean, maybe it's just the Apple version. You know, maybe the people on Android can actually. I didn't test the Android version. I'm too lazy to. But like, let's all be real, guys. Like, the Apple version is the gimped version, and if it's this bad, maybe it's slightly better on Android. I don't actually know. Right. But this is just. I mean, oh, whoops. I don't want to. That's opening Wikipedia.
Did you do like a search or something?
I accidentally clicked on the logo. If you click on the logo, it brings you somewhere. Right? So, and you have to click the save button. Yes, because you know, despite the fact we live in this weird world, we have to still click the save button just to do things, right? And my experience with Collabora, let me say, it is not a good one. Like, I like it in a web browser, but like using it here does not feel good. Like it's honestly like disgusting. This is just
yeah,
this is just the PowerPoint one, right? So like if I create like a new like Word document, right, or ODT document, you know, whatever, you can see it's taking a while for it to actually load here.
Yeah, it's almost as if it doesn't have hardware acceleration.
Yeah, everything in this feels sluggish. This is just maybe it's because I'm using the Apple version, the crippled Apple version, but it just doesn't feel right. Okay, like I'm just maybe I'm just mellowing of age, right? Compare this to OnlyOffice, right? And OnlyOffice I think has a much better out of the box experience in general, right? So let me open again. Let's do the same test. I'm gonna open a new PowerPoint presentation, right? Gonna take a little bit to load. And look, and already there you can see the difference, right? You can see there are the toolbar at the top is like, you know, about what people would expect if you're migrating from Keynote from your phone or your iPad, right? And I would assume it's the same if you're using like Android and blah blah blah. So if you go and type in a text, like already the experience is like you don't have to tap an extra thing just to type in something, right? You can just say whatever you want here, like say subscribe to me. And then boom. And it's like, because Susan. Like already you can see how much better the typing experience is. Because I was like literally mashing my finger on the screen just to like get typing to actually work. And this is actually a lot better, right? So then if you open the settings menu, and this is where I got a little stuck. And this is, I think, I guess a little difference in philosophy, how OnlyOffice handles it. So if you go into this this little you go into the settings menu, right? The settings menu lets you configure things like your color scheme, for example, right? And this color, I'll come back to the color scheme because this is actually more important for this. This is just me testing stuff out. But if you go into themes, right? Let's again do the blue dots, right? Businessmen love the blue dots, right? The businessmen love those blue dots. So then if I go to the settings menu here, right? You can go to presentation setup, color scheme, right? And look at that. You can change the color of the dots. So now they're gold dots or red dots. And it's like, see, business people really, really like that, right? And like the experience of like making something on OnlyOffice, at least on a mobile device, just feels better, to the point where I'd say, yeah, I would probably just only use OnlyOffice. I tried using LibreOffice's Android app a long time ago, but it doesn't. They haven't updated it from. It's the one on F-Droid in the Play Store, but it just doesn't feel right. Like there's something about it that feels really off, and they haven't updated it in years. So like, I'm more in the camp, and like, there's no analytics in this. There's no spooky stuff in here. It's a fully open source. Like they're both fully open source Office suites. And I would just push people, pick the one that works for you. And for me, that's OnlyOffice. I'm a basic normie. I just want to open stuff and just have it open. Okay, I mean, if I'm really caring about freedom, or if I'm doing like for example, when I try to do my finances, I do use like LibreOffice. But when I actually try to like compare my work to like other people, and I know I'm going to be giving my documents to other people because, you know, one day I'm eventually going to, right? So one of the things that I think really gets me about LibreOffice is freedom. It's fully open source. You don't have to worry about any of this. I think the only stick up of OnlyOffice is like, you know, you can't save in open source formats. Again, that's important to me. I would prefer the open source format to the Microsoft proprietary Monopoly format. Like I want a fully open format. But look, I get it, guys. Look, I'm a realist. I'm not like any of those other people who just say, "Oh, you should only use LibreOffice or whatever," and it's like, or be like, "No, you can only use OnlyOffice." Just do whatever works for you, okay? At the end of the day, I'm just an amiibo on the internet. I'm just a husbando on the internet. I can tell you whatever to do, and you would probably do it. And that sort of scares me a little bit that I now have that power. But you know what? At the end of the day, it is you who makes that decision. I'm not going to try to manipulate you to make a decision, but I think using both of these using both OnlyOffice and LibreOffice, just pick the one you like the most. For me personally, I'm a nerd and a power user. I prefer using LibreOffice, right? Except when it comes to making presentations, then I do use OnlyOffice because I can't stand. I mean, I think the one benefit of LibreOffice is too is just it's more mature, but at the end of the day, for most people, it's probably OnlyOffice. OnlyOffice just has better look and feel and all around everything. So leave a comment down below which one you use, although most of you are probably nerds and probably like, but Matt, I use LaTeX. And it's like, yeah, sure you do. All right. But this video was made for you to begin with, so I guess we're going around in circles now, aren't we? All right. Speaking of the things that were made for you, do you want to know what was made for you? The like button. Why don't you, everyone, just go down there and click the like button? If you click the like, all you have to do is click the like button. If you dislike the video, just hit the like button. You know what could go wrong? I think that's the end of my spiel. Have a great day. See you all later.